Most traders don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they cannot face the truth. The truth is harsh, silent, and indifferent to what you think you know. It doesn't matter what books you've read, what strategy you copied, or what indicators you rely on. If you cannot control your actions when the market tests you, you will be eliminated like everyone else. No warnings, no second chances. The market doesn't care who you are. It only responds to price and action. And the majority of traders fail for one reason: they constantly violate the basic principles of discipline and risk. When the final trade goes wrong, they act surprised. But the outcome was never uncertain. It was only a matter of time. I've seen fortunes made and lost. I've made and lost them myself. The reasons never change. Patterns repeat endlessly. Traders enter the market with emotion and exit with regret. They chase noise, ignore logic, trust others, and refuse to accept what is right in front of them. The market gives signals, and they do the opposite. This is not a game of predictions. It's a business of execution. What you think does not matter. What you do is all that counts. If you don't understand this now, the market will teach you the hard way. Listen carefully. What you are about to hear won't comfort you. It will confront you. If you are not ready to face why most traders fail, you will become one of them. Every trader starts with excitement. They open their first position, make a small win, and feel invincible. It seems easy, too easy. A few dollars in, a few dollars out. They believe they've cracked the code. That first profit is not a lesson, it's a trap. It teaches the wrong thing, rewarding randomness disguised as skill. The most dangerous moment for any trader is when early luck is mistaken for talent. That illusion is powerful. It creates overconfidence, and overconfidence invites recklessness. Traders increase size too quickly, ignore structure, and assume past success guarantees future success. But the market doesn't owe anyone consistency. It only reacts to price and action. I made that mistake too. When I started winning in small, low-risk environments, I thought I had mastered the market. But when I moved to real exchanges, reality hit. Execution slowed, spreads widened, and my edge vanished. My capital disappeared faster than I imagined. Not because the strategy failed, but because I didn't understand that markets punish arrogance without hesitation. Confidence without structure is exposure. That's what most traders never understand. They think the goal is to be right. It isn't. The goal is to survive. Those who make it past the first year are not the smartest. They are the most disciplined. They learn quickly that a small win teaches nothing, but a painful loss, if studied, can save a fortune. The market doesn't care about early results, neither should you. What matters is what you consistently do when tested, and the test always comes. There's one mistake more costly than any other: holding a losing position, hoping it will turn around. That silent act of waiting destroys more traders than any chart could. Losses start small. A few ticks, a minor pullback, nothing alarming. Then comes hesitation. Instead of closing, the trader watches. Price moves further against them. They don't react. They rationalize. They tell themselves it's temporary, enlarge the time frame, scroll through news. But deep down, they know. They just don't act. Hope replaces logic, and the longer they hold, the harder it becomes to exit. The loss grows, not just financially, but emotionally and psychologically. Refusing to let go becomes part of their identity. Not because they believe in the trade, but because closing it admits failure. I've been there. I once held a position well beyond my stop. I had my reasons: market noise, temporary pullback, misunderstood sentiment, all fiction. The result was fact. I lost more than I had made in the past 5 trades combined. It wasn't the market, it was my refusal to obey my own limit. A small loss is a trade. A large one is a mistake. The difference between the two is time. Every second you delay gives the market control over your account. The smartest traders are not the ones who win most. They are the ones who lose least. They take losses quickly, cleanly, without hesitation. They cut what isn't working and keep their tools sharp. If you cannot take a small loss, you will eventually take a large one, and when that day comes, you won't be trading anymore. Most traders never build a system. They follow feelings, rumors, opinions, and hope. They chase setups they don't understand, enter positions without clear signals, and exit based on emotion instead of structure. This isn't trading, it's guessing. The market has no mercy for guesses. I learned early that instinct is unreliable. What feels right today often looks foolish tomorrow. But a tested, refined, committed system is protection against chaos. Without it, every trade becomes an emotional decision, and emotional decisions have no edge. I used to act on impulse. I saw a stock move and jumped in. No plan, no confirmation, just excitement. Sometimes it worked, more often it didn't. The real damage wasn't losing trades, it was inconsistency. I couldn't measure success or failure because I had no rules to measure against. That's when I realized without a system I wasn't a trader. I was a gambler with good posture. A trading system doesn't have to be complex. It must be yours. It must tell you when to enter, how much to risk, where to place your stop, and when to exit. It must be repeatable, measurable, and grounded in logic, not emotion. Most importantly, it must be followed. You don't rise by predicting the future, you rise by responding to reality consistently. A system removes doubt and replaces it with structure. Without it, even a winning trade can teach the wrong lesson, and a losing trade can destroy more than capital. The market punishes randomness and improvisation. If you want to survive, build a system. If you want to last, follow it every single time. Emotions are silent destroyers in trading. They don't shout, they whisper. They tell you to hold a little longer, ignore your stop, make a small win feel like failure, and a large loss feel like a challenge to beat. If you don't recognize them, they will control your every move and lead you to ruin. Fear is the first enemy. It shows up when a trade moves against you, not because the loss is unbearable, but because being wrong is. Fear freezes your hand when you should act. It convinces you to wait, to hope, to believe the market will reverse for you. But the market doesn't reward belief, it rewards execution. Then comes greed. It doesn't arrive in losses, but in wins. A profitable position suddenly makes you want more. Plans fade. Discipline softens. Giving back a profit becomes unbearable. You take it too early or overextend, chasing what's already played out. Clear decisions become emotional storms. I've felt both. I've exited TR. Days not because the setup changed, but because I got nervous. I've ignored exits because I wanted a little more. Each time, results were worse than following my rules. The lesson was painful but lasting. Emotions are not your guide, they are your test. You cannot remove emotion, but you can contain it. That's discipline. The strength to act when uncertain, to follow rules when instincts scream otherwise, not once, but every single time. A strategy is only as strong as your ability to execute it without interference. If emotions run your decisions, results belong to them, not you. Traders who survive act in spite of what they feel. Many believe bigger size leads to bigger profits, and that belief has destroyed more accounts than bad setups. Risk is not measured by how right you are, but by how wrong you can be and how fast you can stop the damage. I never entered a position at full size. I tested, waited for confirmation, let the market prove me right before increasing exposure. If the trade worked, I added. If not, I stepped aside. This wasn't hesitation, it was protection. I wasn't in it to prove anything, I was in it to last. I've watched traders enter with maximum size on unconfirmed trades only to panic at the first pullback. The trade might have been valid, but their position was too large to survive normal movements. They didn't lose because they were wrong. They lost because they bet everything on being right too quickly. Overtrading is another form of the same problem. When one trade ends, they immediately look for the next. Not because the market offers something valuable, but because they can't sit still. They confuse action with productivity. The market doesn't pay you to trade more, it pays you to trade well. Risk is not the enemy, mismanagement of it is. Proper sizing keeps your capital alive. It gives you room to think, adjust, and stay in the game. You don't win by being bold, you win by being precise. The market doesn't care about confidence, ambition, or the need to recover from loss. It cares only about execution. The trader who controls position size controls survival. One over-leveraged position can erase years of discipline. Every trader loses. That is unavoidable. What matters is what comes after the loss. Most blame someone else, the market, the news, timing, even bad luck. Rarely do they look inward. That is the dividing line between those who grow and those who disappear. A loss is not failure, it's data. It shows whether your system is solid, whether your discipline held, and whether you respected your structure. Ignoring that is the most expensive mistake you can make. I remember a loss that wiped out a month's work. It hurt, but I didn't get angry. I wrote it down, analyzed it, and asked the hard questions. Did I follow my plan? Did I size correctly? Was this setup valid? The process was brutal, but the clarity that followed made me stronger. Most traders bury mistakes. They avoid numbers, shift narratives, and move on without understanding why the loss happened. Then they repeat the same behavior, and the cycle begins again. This isn't learning, it's denial. The market is a relentless teacher. It doesn't forgive. If you don't learn from the pain, it will return, not out of cruelty, but because you allow it. A trader who cannot study losses is no different from a gambler. Both operate without correction and ultimately end the same way, empty-handed. Losses are unavoidable, but wasted if you don't learn. Traders who record, reflect, and refine after every mistake build an edge no chart can provide. Those who don't won't survive long enough to apply any lesson. The need to always be in a trade is one of the most dangerous habits. Many believe that if they aren't actively buying or selling, they're falling. Bind. But most of the time, doing nothing is the smartest decision. I learned to wait. I learned to sit on my hands until the market offered what I sought. The setup had to be clean, conditions aligned, and focus sharp. If any of that was missing, I stayed flat, not because I was afraid to trade, but because I respected the cost of being wrong. Most traders overtrade not because opportunities exist, but because they fear missing out. They believe that constant motion equals progress. It doesn't. Constant motion means friction, and friction in this game is expensive. Every entry, every exit, every moment spent in a weak position adds up, not just financially, but mentally. Some of my biggest profits came not from numerous trades, but from a few trades held with conviction, and to reach those trades, I waited. I ignored noise. I passed on setups that didn't meet my criteria. I let amateurs chase movement while I preserved capital and clarity. There is a difference between being active and being productive. You are not paid for activity, you are paid for accuracy, and accuracy requires patience. It takes control to watch the market move without you and not feel anxious. It takes maturity to understand that your edge is not in how often you trade, but in how well you trade when the moment is right. The market is a constant storm. If you chase every wave, you'll drown, but if you wait for the one that moves with your wind, you ride it further than most ever will. There is no shortage of advice in trading. Everyone has an opinion, brokers, friends, strangers, all eager to tell you what to do next. But the market does not reward borrowed conviction. It only responds to your actions. If your actions are based on someone else's belief, you are already exposed. I've taken trades based on tips. I've followed advice from people who sounded certain. It never ended well. Not because their idea was always wrong, but because I didn't understand the reasoning behind it. I wasn't trading the setup, I was trading the person. And that's a mistake the market punishes every time. The moment you rely on someone else's thinking, you abandon your own. You stop analyzing. You stop planning. You act based on emotion, comfort, or fear of missing out. You follow a signal, not a system. And worst of all, when it goes wrong, you have no framework to recover because the decision was never yours. I learned to trust one thing only, the tape. It told me everything I needed. It showed intention, pressure, exhaustion, and strength. It didn't need headlines or commentary. It just needed attention and respect. Every time I followed the tape, I traded with clarity. Every time I listened to others, I traded with doubt. You can learn from people. You can study history. But when it comes time to act, your decision must be your own. It must come from your system, your analysis, and your readiness to accept the outcome, win or lose. If you cannot trust your own decision-making, you are not yet ready to risk real capital. If you consistently outsource your trades to others' opinions, you're not trading, you're following. In this market, followers don't survive. Most traders have heard the rule, cut your losses short, let your profits run. They nod, agree, repeat it to others. But when pressure comes, when the chart turns red or the position drifts, they do the opposite. They cut winners, hold losers, and wonder why the outcome never changes. This rule is not a slogan. It is survival. It exists because the market is unpredictable. The only way to consistently extract profit is to limit damage and allow strength to reward you. But that requires discipline, and discipline is rare. Traders violate this rule not due to lack of knowledge, but because of emotional interference. Fear convinces them to take profit early to avoid losing what they have. Hope tells them to give losing trades more time. Both voices sound rational. Neither serves you. When I followed this rule, I built momentum. I let good trades breathe, expand, and pay me fully. At the same time, I exited losers before they drained my account or confidence. Results were never instant, but over time, they were undeniable. My account became healthier, my mindset sharper, my focus improved. When I ignored the rule, the damage compounded. A small profit felt like a victory, but masked an even larger growing loss. By the time I accepted the mistake, the cost was far greater than it should have been. Traders fail not because they never knew the rule, but because they lacked the control to follow it. If you master just this one behavior, cutting losses fast and letting winners run, you separate yourself from the 90% who don't. This is the line. On one side, those who guess, react, and regret. On the other, those who observe, act, and survive. The market offers both paths, but only one keeps you in the game long enough to win. If you've made it this far, you've already proven something. Most won't. Most don't want to face the truth behind why traders fail. They want shortcuts. Hay wants secrets. But the truth is, the edge is never hidden. It's just difficult, and that's why it works. You've heard the reasons now. Not opinions, not theories, but the core behaviors that separate those who last from those who disappear. Cutting losses without hesitation, letting profits grow without fear, trading with structure, ignoring noise, acting with discipline, not emotion. These aren't tips, they are principles. They don't age, they don't change, and they don't forgive if broken. Most traders fail, but you don't have to. Subscribe now, like this video, and comment below. That way, more traders will find this content, and I'll know this work still matters. Remember, the market isn't your enemy. Your habits are. Fix them, and the market becomes something entirely different, not a threat but a mirror. If what you put in is structure, patience, and control, what you get back may surprise you. Stay sharp, trade with reason, and never forget what you've learned.